Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're getting through these market circumstances relatively well. Obviously, right now, before we get into this video, and I'll tell you what we're going to talk about in this video. There's a couple of things that I think are quite interesting. But before we get into this, I mean, these market circumstances are tough, all right? It's very choppy. Every time we see a bullish move, we have to, get confirmation, and we have to be very strict about, is this a real bullish move or is it just manipulation? And that's also what we'll talk about in this video regarding Bitcoin. I mean, we had a decent move over the course of this morning, but can we really trust it? I don't know. We will see, and we'll talk about how we can actually see that. But so far, you can see that every bullish move on Monday, on Tuesday. Yesterday we didn't get one, but every bullish move has been rejected, and it hasn't led to anything. So right now we have again gotten a bullish move. It's a little bit smaller. Maybe that's a good thing. We'll talk about whether that can actually last, and that's going to be very important because, as you can see, most of the market, and we'll talk about some altcoins that are interesting, but most of the market is still moving together with Bitcoin. But okay, so let's get right into it. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fundamentals, as I always do. I think that's absolutely critical to understand the broader context which influences the crypto markets, which you need to know about, all right? If you really want to be a profitable trader and crypto investor, you need to stay on top of things, all right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Bitcoin mostly. I will briefly talk about XRP and Ethereum, but honestly, and I've said this most often in the last week, they're just very dependent on Bitcoin. And then we'll talk about some altcoins. There's a couple of altcoins that I actually think, it's actually worth it to keep an eye on that. There's actually some altcoins, as you can see here as well, that are outperforming. So we'll talk about those at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. Now, first of all, fundamentally, we have an announcement by Donald Trump at 3 p.m. in Washington. All right, so that's at 3 p.m. That's Eastern time. So we still have to wait, quite a long time for that. I think probably after uploading this video, it's about 6-7 hours later than, 6 hours later than, 5, I think. 5 hours after I upload this video, it's probably the announcement. So I have to wait for that. Outside of that, there's been numerous other headlines, but ultimately I think it's more, it's better to just look at where the financial charts are. Volatility index, as you can see, opened a little bit lower. It opened a little bit higher, has dropped down afterwards, so that's good. Gold is also stabilizing. So that's a good thing as well. Unrest is stabilizing. Unrest is not increasing. Maybe after the announcement that's different, but we shall see. And then general equities are also not doing too bad. I mean, you can see the US market has just opened a little bit higher than yesterday, but pre-market and overnight, the S&P has really bounced up and down. So this is, ultimately this is in an uptrend. So I have to be slightly bullish on the fundamentals as it stands right now, while the Russell 2000 is relatively stable, which is not necessarily a good thing. So that's the fundamentals. Now, like I said, Bitcoin actually got a pretty decent move over the course of this morning. We spoke about that this morning as well. The key thing that we did is two things. First of all, we broke above the previous day value area high. So that was around 108,500, and we broke above the 7-day rolling VWAP, and we did that with relatively high volume relative to how much volume usually is in the market at that specific point of time, which was the middle of your European session, which is usually very low volume. And we've been able to break above the 7-day rolling VWAP. That is also right now, the US market has just opened. The volume is still very low. More volume is going to enter the markets. The crucial thing for the market right now is that we hold this level at 108.5. 108,500. We can spike down below that, that's fine, but ultimately we need to keep closing above that. And preferably I would also get a good reaction from that. If we can do that, then I think we can rally up higher into 111.5 and into 112.5. Those are my lower time frame first two price targets for Bitcoin. But that's crucial, all right? That is the single most important thing for the markets today. Get a good, hold that level first of all, and get a good reaction, get a strong reaction from there second of all. And then we can see Bitcoin rallying. Most altcoins will rally together with that. And talking about XRP and Ethereum, those are just fully moving together with Bitcoin right now. So they can only move into the top of the ranges that they're in right now. So for XRP, that would be 2.55, 2.6. For Ethereum, that would be 4,100. That's only possible if Bitcoin does what we just explained and what we just talked about. So keep your eyes on Bitcoin. And then, like I said, I mean, talking about a couple of altcoins out there, it's going to be a relatively short video, but maybe you don't mind. Talking about altcoins, we had a Robinhood Hyperliquid listing. Great news. Hyperliquid was already quite strong, and its fundamentals, they're amazing. But it's still under resistance, right? So the critical level for Hyperliquid right now is $40. And unless we get a higher time frame breakout above that, I would be cautious. If we do get a higher time frame breakout above that, this looks like one of the best altcoins in the market right now to buy. So definitely keep your eyes on that. And like I said, I mean, the product behind it is doing great. Now, outside of that, I had Athena on my watch list, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's not that strong anymore. But Jasmy is actually quite interesting, which I know a lot of you are traumatized by this crypto. But this actually had some high volume. Like, this is the highest volume we've seen for Jasmy in a very long period of time, since the 20th of July, right? So the 20th of July was right here. And then we topped out, but you can see those were good market circumstances, and that's very high volume. And then outside of that, there's also quite a lot of optimism about Japan. Jasmy is a Japanese crypto, so that's why, you know, there's still key resistance level right here at 1.1 cents, but definitely an interesting coin to keep your eyes on. Now, is there something we see at the moment that's quite interesting? Yeah, Walrus. Walrus is showing some momentum. This is a very risky coin to trade, but maybe if you're into manipulation, if you're into volatility, this could be interesting. And finally, do I see something like Hyperliquid actually has a lot of volume, and Bella Protocol also has a lot of momentum. But I won't talk too much about that. That's manipulated, all right? So now you know, but it is manipulated. Pretty good end of the video right here with Bitcoin rallying. But like I said, keep your eyes on that level, especially at 108,500. We need that to hold. We need to get a strong reaction. That's good for Bitcoin. XRP and Ethereum can move into those top of the ranges, and we can potentially see some rallies across the board. But we shall see. It's not confirmed yet. Those are my thoughts for now. That's what I think you need to know. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.